gotta go, the culture, you gotta go.
You do it for the, we do it for the culture. I do it for the, you do it for the, we do it for the culture. Yup. We do it for the culture.
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 Look, I do it for the, you do it for the, we do it for the culture. Some people do it for the fortune. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hello. Welcome to episode 3 of The Culture. Tonight I'm here with Ebube, Mateo, Odette, and Hakeem. Now, we are here tonight with the owner of the crew, Mateo. Now, can you pronounce the restaurant for us?
Sure. It's called Krewe. Just like crew. Oh yeah, no worries. It's called Krewe. Krewe is the groups of people that get together to make the floats for Mardi Gras. So it would be, there's a all women's one called Krewe de Muses. One of the oldest ones is called Krewe de Zulu. And so we are just a group of people who get together to make good food.
Now, is that where the name originated from? Or do you have another?
Nope, yeah, it comes from the Old English word crew, C-R-U. And then the Creoles, the natives, and the Africans all made it their own by spelling it K-R-E-W-E. You'll see it all over New Orleans now that you know what it means.
Phenomenal. Thank you, Mateo.
With this beautiful background, we hear like New Orleans, Africans. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood?
Sure. So I grew up actually in Bloomington. Pretty normal. I was heavy into sports. I did stuff like this in high school and in college. I ended up going to college on a soccer scholarship. So I played 4 years of Division II college soccer. I love food from a very early age. One of my first memories, if you sit at these little red chairs that we have at this table behind us, I tell stories about my family, my mother, my grandfather. A lot of the recipes come from my grandfather from New Orleans. But food was always something that surrounded us and brought us together. But I tried to do everything else before this. I'm 50, but I did not professionally start cooking until I was 36 years old. So it was something that I always did. One of my first memories is watching a show called Jan Can Cook on PBS. A little Chinese man making chicken stands and making flowers out of roses and carrots and things like that when I was about 6 years old. And I always cooked for a lot of people throughout high school. I was the kid that they would take to the grocery store to buy food when the parents were going to go away because they knew that I was the only one that was going to cook for them, otherwise we'd be ordering out. But yeah, it's always been something that I've been passionate about, but never something that I necessarily thought I would follow as a career. But my mother was one of 10 kids born and raised in the city of New Orleans. And my grandfather grew up in the bayou outside of New Orleans, and they ended up moving to New Orleans, and that's where my mother was raised. So a lot of these recipes are directly from him. Some of them are over 100 years old.
Wow.
That we still do inside of the restaurant.
So, Mateo, was becoming a chef your first passion?
It was not. I went to school for communication. I wanted to actually do advertising. I wanted to own a culturally specific advertising agency that depicted people of color in an accurate manner rather than some caricature that most white folks thought we were supposed to be and how we were supposed to act. But I got into advertising and found out that people were very untrustworthy and disrespectful, and I did not like that at all. And so I ran around and did everything. I answered phones, I scrubbed floors at a car dealership. I owned my own music studio for about 8 years where we did production and engineering. I was mostly behind the scenes, pushing buttons and turning knobs. I was a DJ for 25 years, clubs in Minneapolis. Traveled, toured nationally for about 5 years as a DJ too. So I did a lot of other things. And then I had a job at a printing company doing IT work. And during the recession of 2008, I lost my job and I just started to hate money. And so I told myself I wanted to do what I was really, really passionate about, and that was cooking and food. And that was in 2009, and I have done nothing else since but cook.
Wow, nice.
I guess I had a question for you. So you mentioned the history of, Krewe and the recipes behind, the kitchen. So I was wondering if you have any other sorts of, interest in other different cultures, internationally or nationally. Like, what else do you like to cook? What else do you like to eat?
Yeah, absolutely. If I was not to do this type of cuisine, I would do Japanese food. I'm absolutely enthralled by the Japanese culture. I just got to spend last January, I was there for 2 weeks. Went to 5 different cities, and fell even more in love with Japanese culture by being immersed in it. It is amazing the level of respect, how they treat their most vulnerable people in their society, how they take care of the earth. The food was absolutely phenomenal. And also the fashion and shopping was we think we got it good here. No, I was in Harajuku and I could have spent my entire 2 weeks I was there in Harajuku walking around looking at shoes, and they got thrift stores. I got pictures of Minnesota Vikings backpacks and FUBU jackets and stuff that I used to wear when I grew up that they have over there now. But it's a phenomenal place, phenomenal culture. I'm going to Italy at the beginning of January this next year. I love Italian food, Spanish food, pretty much all food culture. But if I couldn't do anything other than this, I would do Japanese food.
That's really interesting. Do you have anything on here that's Japanese influence, or do you plan on expanding your cuisine?
Yeah, there is always something on there that will be maybe not necessarily Japanese, but Asian influence. Our shrimp toast that's on there now is a kind of reinterpreted version of a classic shrimp toast. It's got flavors of like tom yum, which is spiced peppers, lemongrass, ginger, garlic, kind of all buzzed up in a shrimp paste and then folded into a piece of potato bread, and kind of served as like a taco. And then QP mayo is probably the best mayonnaise on the planet. We get the side of that with some sesame seeds and scallions. But there is always something of an Asian culture on that menu. If you were to go down to New Orleans before it was technically New Orleans was the original salad bowl of not necessarily even the United States, but the world. Because it was a port city, all these ships would come in and there are people who do trade, commerce, because all that stuff could come down the Mississippi, end up at the Gulf, they pick it all up, trade it, turn it and go. And so you had this environment of all these different cultures that were there, and they all brought their own, independent food, culture, language, everything, and they all live together in that space. And so as it kind of got taken over by different countries throughout the years, they would always come in and they would add their layer of influences. So the Spanish, African, the Vietnamese actually have a pretty strong hold in New Orleans. The Italians would come down from New York and set up businesses and things down there because they could take the product from there and people could take it up the coast to.
I'm an actor in an ad that was given 12 seconds to remind you that if you're high, just don't drive. Because if you feel different, you drive different. It's illegal to drive high everywhere anyway.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
Best crowd in college hockey. Best atmosphere in college hockey. I mean, this is what it's all about.
Again, so far, St. Cloud getting an opportunity here. Cooper scores! Turnaround shot, Chelsea. They score!
Efforts to guarantee a spot, and we put ourselves in a good spot. There we go.
Welcome to the Kitchen at Krewe. So I guess what we're going to make some mock choux. We talked a little bit about it in one of the other segments, but this is a dish from the Bayou. Mock choux really means nothing. It means skinny cabbage. It had a different Native American name originally, and somebody came along and said they needed to sexy up the name, and so that's how mock choux came about. The two words really don't belong together, but it is a quintessential New Orleans Bayou recipe that uses a bunch of bell peppers, mushrooms. We're gonna put some tomatoes in it because we're right at the end of our tomato season. These ones we actually grew on our own farm. Some peppers and onions and garlic, and then it's cream and butter. So you get the native, you get the earth, all the vegetables that are grown, and then you get that French influence of cream and butter in everything. So, and then I don't know if you guys know how to cut peppers, but I'm going to show you. The ends should come off first, and then if you slide the knife down, you should be able to just roll it all the way out and get what you need that way. Then you get to get the most yield. That's one of the big things you're talking about with us about how do you make this all work. Is making sure you get as many, ingredients that are usable for you out of every single piece of vegetable that you use. If you don't know how to hold a knife, thumb finger. If you ever ran track, right? They used to tell you how to hold a rose, or you're squeezing a little chicken in your hand or whatever. That's the same thing. Hand goes on, you're gonna hold the knife, no putting your finger up top there. If the finger falls off, it goes under there. And your other hand, everybody likes their fingers, right? If you just curl them up and hold or whatever you need, I can sit here and do this all day and my fingers will be out of the way. I'll show you better on the onion.
So, Mateo, I looked at your menu and it looks pretty delicious and scrumptious. Now, what's the most popular food item?
I would say the most popular one is going to be the shrimp jambalaya. Nice. Red beans and rice is probably second. That is my favorite. As far as protein is concerned, that smoked half chicken and the stuffed pork chop are also pretty popular too.
So one item that caught my attention right away was the, I believe it was called the Louisiana crab cakes.
Yep.
And those seem pretty good. You want to tell us more about that?
Sure. Crab cakes, we make them all in-house ourselves. They are just crab. There is no filler. A lot of places, if you go get crab cakes somewhere, They are pre-made, and somebody's just cooking them. We put in what's called the Holy Trinity in Creole cooking, which is bell pepper, celery, onion. It came from the French version of mirepoix, which is celery, carrots, onion. It's the base of all stock, soup, sauces. That's kind of how it all started. But you cannot grow carrots in Louisiana or New Orleans very well because it goes down. We're already at sea level, so they needed something that was going to go up. And so that's what they chose, was green bell pepper, because as you cook it, it gets sweeter.
That sounds really, really good. And another item that caught my attention was the carne asada. Now, when I hear carne asada, I think of either steak tacos or steak burritos. Now, do you sell tacos or burritos here? Or?
We do not. But the carne asada, so one of the things I try to do, because I necessarily didn't have these opportunities, was to allow some of our chefs to create menu items. We work together, create something that we think is going to do well. And then we test it till we feel like it's right, and then we put it on the menu. So the carne asada was actually created by an old sous chef who just recently left, that I've left on the menu because it's a great selling dish, and it's a representative of a different culture, which kind of what this place is about. So that was a collaboration between he and I, coming up with the recipe, making sure that it tasted the way we both thought it should taste, and then it goes on the menu.
It's pretty awesome. Super nice.
And I like tacos too, so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big taco guy myself.
If I wanted to make tacos, I already got the carne asada here.
Probably one sitting, I could probably like 8 tacos.
I bet you could eat 8 tacos.
I'm a big boy.
Yeah, you are.
But anyway, now I want to discuss dessert. Do you sell dessert here by any chance?
We do. We do a traditional New Orleans style bread pudding, key lime pie, beignets, and then we sometimes will have a seasonal one. So right now we just got finished with a peach pot de creme, which is basically kind of a real rustic peach jam. And then underneath the peach, or on top of the peach jam, was a custard with vanilla and honey as its major flavor components. So normally I'm gonna show you, peeling bulbs of onions. If you get it at the store, please buy this instead of that crazy stuff in the jar, because it's horrible. Pretty simple to be able to press down on one of these, take whatever you need, and then chop it up. We'll just do one. And if you got a nice knife, you can just smash the back of it, peel everything out that you want, and then you can go ahead and chop it up.
So, Mateo, do you have any other hobbies besides being a business owner and a chef yourself?
I do. I love to play pool. I'm a pretty avid golfer. I can't golf as much as I used to be able to, but if I could do that once a day, I probably would golf. I collect cookbooks, especially really old cookbooks. I like to see how people made things in their kind of original form. So if I go to like a Goodwill or a thrift store or something like that, I'll definitely be in that section looking through those. I like old church cookbooks, are some of my favorite, because some old ladies knew how to throw down, and they wrote it down, and then they would sell them as fundraisers and stuff like that. So a couple of our recipes with our duck dishes have come from church cookbooks that I found in New Orleans, just rummaging around looking for stuff. So, all right, let's make some. Come on. Four times a year. It's about 40% of it changes. Makshu can never leave. Jambalaya, gumbo, red beans will never leave. Smoked chicken can never leave. The pork chop, I've been trying to get it to go away, but I can't. because people like it too much. But so our fried Brussels sprouts, we can't let those go, otherwise people get mad. The duck, it changes what's underneath it. So the smoked duck is always the same. Like right now we're on, we do smoked barley, risotto with some 2 different kinds of mushrooms, which people seem to like really, really well. And then we do an Asian version of it with an umami corn pudding during corn season. That's the one we just came off of. We do scallion pancakes. There's the Asian influence again. Scallion pancakes, umami corn pudding, and some chives. We've done it with crispy rice, like sushi rice you crisp up in the fryer. So it just depends on the season and kind of how I feel, but most of the stuff relatively will stay close to being the same. But we do change up, like I said, this menu, there was 6 items that changed on it out of the 18 things that are on it.
Hi, I'm not Greg Marcus.
And I'm also not Greg Marcus.
And welcome to Back to the Movies.
If you want to watch 2, occasionally 3, college students talk about the movies they love and hate.
Catch a new episode every other Friday on UTVS at 8 p.m. Also available on Vimeo. So please, join us.
Now, if you'll excuse us, we have to get back to the movies.
Yep, this can be vegan. Almost, probably 60% of our menu can either be made vegan or we have the vegan version of it on hand. It may not be in like super large quantities. Red beans and rice, we do a vegan version. Jamba, vegan version. Brussels sprouts are vegan. This would be made, if we made it vegan, I use coconut milk. The duck right now is vegetarian, not vegan, but I usually have a little bit of the barley set aside if someone wants just the risotto, because all I do is cook the barley and shallot, onion, wine, and water. And so we just fluff it up with coconut milk that way. I understand that not everybody eats the way I do, and so being able to, again, have that space that's accessible to everyone. Like you don't want to leave your vegan friends at home if you want to come here, or you don't not want to come here and be able to eat stuff. We do a lot of stuff without pork. We make our vegetarian red beans without pork. We make a jambalaya without pork. We make, trying to think, there's about 3 or 4 other things during the true like growing season where we truly make sure it's just vegetables. We always offer like 2 or 3 different salads. And it's not a salad that's already on and then we just take stuff away from it and give it to you. Like it's specifically composed to be eaten. For us, becomes no pork, just because pork is such a heavy ingredient in Creole cooking. We do use halal chickens in our smoked chickens. A lot of people don't. They're like, I didn't buy it, I don't want to mess with it. But we do offer that and let them know that they are halal chickens. But then also the red beans are made with just smoked turkey, so you still get that almost true sense of what the dish is supposed to taste like. It does taste different when there's andouille sausage and ham and stuff in it, but our smoked turkey version of our red beans and rice is really, really good and can pass for most people's regular version of it. But we try to be aware and cognizant of where we are and not exclude people. We've got folks in here probably at least once or twice a week who are asking for those different items.
Hi, I'm not Greg Marcus.
And I'm also not Greg Marcus.
And welcome to Back to the Movies.
If you want to watch 2, occasionally 3, college students talk about the movies they love and hate.
Catch a new episode every other Friday on UTVS at 8 p.m. Also available on Vimeo. So please, join us.
Now, if you'll excuse us, we have to get back to the movies.
You gotta go, the culture, you gotta go. You do it for the, we do it for the culture. I do it for the, you do it for the, we do it for the culture. Yup. We do it for the culture.
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 Look, I do it for the, you do it for the, we do it for the culture.
Some people do it for